We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks. You see it, KYJ. Things have changed just a little bit since the last time you were here.
I think you should see your oculus. Nothing wrong with my feet. I'm talking about your eyes.
I can even make my ass do tricks. Watch this. You have any idea where you are? You're in the jungle, baby. This is WCW. That's right. Hold on.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. We are live Tuesday night, special Tuesday edition of the Pro Wrestling Report.
Tuesday,
October 6, 2009. Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the man they call Meathead here live. Coming to you here from the downtown studios of 540 ESPN. Gentlemen, what a show we've got for you tonight. Armando Estrada is our guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. And we've got a pay-per-view to talk about just this past Sunday, WWE Hell in a Cell, Raw from this past Monday Night Impact, and the 10th anniversary of SmackDown from last week. In addition to that, we're going to do a detailed pay-per-view business analysis. A lot of discussion about these gimmick pay-per-views WWE has been doing. We're going to talk about whether or not they've worked and whether or not they should continue. And as I said, we're going to talk about Hell in a Cell. And our top 5, Dave, and we're going to preview, because Dave is very excited about that, TNA's Bound for Glory so
we
far.
We had to hold them back.
BSG 09.
Absolutely.
I saw a shirt.
I saw one, too.
You can join us live on the phone lines. The number is 276-ESPN, 276-3776 here in southeastern Wisconsin, or if you're listening to us all over the world or streaming at pwrshow.com, the number is 1-800-990-ESPN. Again, that's 1-800-990-ESPN. We also have some free TNA house show tickets, TNA live event tickets to give away tonight. So keep your ears open for when that's going to happen. The Chatmosphere, live at pwrshow.com, where you can join the discussion right there. Now that all the plugging is out of the way for now, gentlemen, let's start off by talking about last Sunday's WWE pay-per-view offering, formerly known as No Mercy, now known as Hell in a Cell. And I guess as a summary statement leading into this pay-per-view,
That's done. That's your statement right there. Again, follow up.
It was an emotional roller coaster that was quite nauseating at times, but exciting at times as well. So, I mean, we saw 2 titles change hands on this pay-per-view. We saw, well, that's about it, really. So, new World Heavyweight Champion, new WWE Champion, The Undertaker and John Cena, respectively. 3 Hell in a Cell matchups, only 2 of them really utilized the cell structure in any way, shape, or form. Let's first talk about what was the opening contest, and that was The Undertaker versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship, a solid 10-minute epic brawl in Hell in a Cell. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Wow. They opened the show with the World Heavyweight Champion.
Does it matter, though?
Yeah, of course it does.
It absolutely matters.
That show should have opened up with Morrison and Ziggler.
Yeah, something hot. Something that young guys doing. Work up the crowd.
But with 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the show.
Or you could have opened it up with the tag title match. The Undertaker opens the show. Now, there's been rumors of CM Punk being punished.
But are they really going to? I mean, if he is or is not being punished, we don't know for sure. But even if he were, would they really make such a dramatic change to the pay-per-view to send a message to him?
Yeah. It sends a message to all the boys in the back.
Yeah, I think we're reading way, way too far into it. Again,
if you're the Undertaker, you never, ever open a pay-per-view. Never, ever.
He didn't even open the 1990 or 91 Survivor Series when he debuted.
91.
Bill Johnson is now leaving the building, guys, just so you know.
Thank you for that announcement.
And he wanted us to know that it's 5-5 top of the 11th. But that's neither here nor there.
I'm telling you, there's something fishy going on in the WWE.
Meathead, your thoughts on that opening main event Hell in a Cell matchup, the first of 3 we would see that.
They're going to shake things up. You watch. They're shaking it up.
It's time to shake things up again.
So you're saying that side of the mountain, because there's 2 mountains, the Sunday Brunch Mountain and the Taker Mountain, that side of the mountain has got earthworms eating the bottom of it and
Do you think
starting to
there's
crumble?
sausage or bacon at Sunday Brunch?
I think all of it.
links or patty?
Well, if DX is involved, it's green eggs and ham. Yeah. No, I'm serious. That's what I've been told, that things are going to start to change shortly, and I'm sure part of that will be John Cena going to Friday nights.
No.
And we'll talk about WWE Raw from this past Monday night, but we did hear a big match announcement between Randy Orton and John Cena, the 18th in a row, something like that. But anyway.
Gotta stop.
You know what? The Punk at least looked credible in that matchup against The Undertaker. He gave The Undertaker a run for his money for a good portion of that matchup, and that at least was one good thing that came out of it for CM Punk.
Do you think that was the match that got the tempo of the show going for everybody?
Absolutely not. If they were going to open the show with a Hell in a Cell match, which is what we kind of talked about, one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end,
right.
Why wasn't it DX and Legacy?
To open the show?
To open the show.
Because that was the most brutal out of the 3 Hell in the Cells.
But you can change the booking for the match.
Well, no, not for that one.
Well, yeah. Sure you can.
Why would you change that?
I can't believe I came up to watch the pay-per-view with you, and that's what I saw.
I know, it was ridiculous.
It was retarded. I really thought I should have stayed home and played Guitar Hero 5 instead.
Well,
I really didn't think you guys are really you're persecuting this matchup. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was when you had
what time did you watch it?
Yeah. Did you watch it with a DVR remote?
I watched the replay that started at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So you were already tired by then.
Yeah.
Well, a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where you have 3 of these matches, would you rather them have done all 3 in a row?
Not all in a row, but maybe, later down in the card.
Again, I thought I think beginning, middle, and end.
Opening it up with Hell in a Cell set the tone for the pay-per-view. It was called Hell in a Cell. I thought opening it up with a Hell in a Cell matchup made sense. Let's go to a caller on line 1 who was actually at WWE Hell in a Cell at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. Will, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hello, gentlemen. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Will.
All right. So basically, I agree with Damien's perspective as starting off with the Hell in a Cell. So I definitely agree with that.
Well, actually, we all agree. Like I said, beginning, middle, and end.
I don't agree.
Oh, Dave Hero doesn't, but I agree that, beginning, middle, and end. You got to space them out.
Yeah, so basically the crowd pretty much was hot the whole night except for the Drew McIntyre match. That's pretty much the only match that people did not care to see because, honestly, I didn't even know it was on the card. I only noticed it when it was actually on the T-shirt.
It was a bonus matchup.
It was on the T-shirt?
Yeah, they had on the T-shirt, they had Drew McIntyre versus R-Truth, which I had no idea about.
Well, here's the question, though. That match came after, I believe, the John Cena-Randy Orton Hell in a Cell match was probably the best, one of the best of matches of the evening. Were you, as a fan, deflated at that point? Were you emotionally drawn or at that point in the match or at that point in the card, whereas you didn't necessarily care about the Drew R-Truth match?
Pretty much, actually, yes.
That placement of that match reminds me of Terry Taylor versus Steve Lombardi at WrestleMania.
Who, where, when?
Yeah, when the Red Rooster versus the Brooklyn Brawler at WrestleMania was right before the main event. That's what I compare.
So that's basically go get your provisions.
That was K-Quick versus what's his name for me,
Well, you were live in the Prudential Center called The Rock for whatever reason. Beautiful building. But one thing that was very notable for us watching on the broadcast version of it was John Cena's reaction, the reaction that John Cena got from the fans, a louder chorus of boos than we are normally accustomed to, and John Cena was very, quote-unquote, controversial Sunday night. What was the feeling like live there at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, when John Cena came out into the arena?
It's pretty clear, in the tri-state area, it's pretty much that we are really true big wrestling fans. This is WWE's home area. So bottom line is you're going to have the true wrestling fans in this area, and they're definitely not going to be behind John Cena. You're going to have all the little girls with the pom-poms in the crowd, because there was a ton of those.
So are you saying that the real wrestling fans only live in the eastern half of the country?
No, not necessarily, but a good portion of them are, because this is where WWE pretty much started, was in this area.
Sure,
so
that's their area. You're right.
That's the barometer for Vinnie Mac.
Is that area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a barometer for everything around here. I mean, we've talked in sports radio actually about East Coast bias happening, on a continued basis. I mean, when you see Yankees Red Sox on a weekend after weekend after weekend, so everybody thinks in the country the East Coast rules what's going on.
Were people more against Cena than they were for Orton?
Absolutely. Right. Definitely. Orton was definitely the one that was getting cheered the most. I mean, at least from my section anyway, but I could definitely tell that this was definitely, he definitely got booed more than anybody.
Well, thank you very much for that call, that live event perspective of WWE's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this past Sunday night. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, more on WWE Hell in a Cell, and at the bottom of the hour, our special guest is Armando Estrada. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Overreact with Homer, weekdays at 2 on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live Tuesday night, October the 6th, 2009. That's twice I've gotten the date right tonight. I'm on a roll.
You've got room to make a mistake, though.
The man they call Meathead, Dave Hero, and Damian Nelson here with you live from our studios in downtown Milwaukee.
Stop.
Collaborate and listen?
It's the wrong.
Are you
it's
back
wrong.
with a brand new edition?
It's wrong.
What's wrong?
I am not the man they call Meathead.
I didn't say you were.
See, it's confusing.
It's just confusing to you.
It's confusing to your little circle of friends.
We're talking about WWE Hell in a Cell just this past Sunday on pay-per-view. Special thanks to Will from New Jersey who just called in and gave us his live event perspective of that show. And you can call us as well. The number 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or 1-800-990-3776. We've got some more callers, and coming up in just a few minutes, Armando Estrada is our guest live here on 540 ESPN.
The commissioner of GLCW, by the way.
Let's go now to Glenn in Orlando on line 2. Go ahead with your call. Glenn, you're live.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, Glenn?
2 statements and 1 question for you guys today.
Okay.
Edge, how about his return, rated Royal Rumble?
Not sure when Edge is coming back, actually.
Rated also
I know
Royal
he's going
Rumble.
on a promotional tour in Australia for the upcoming WWE tour, but I don't know exactly when he is going to be back.
All right. So another statement is, you guys love rumors?
Love rumors.
Look at all these rumors.
Here's a rumor for you. January 4th, 2010, the first Monday night of Raw, 2010. Rumor has it, guest host will be The Rock.
Well, on SmackDown this past Friday night, it was the 10th anniversary of SmackDown. The Rock was on, and The Rock did say, or at least hint at the fact that he would be guest hosting WWE Raw soon. And now it makes sense for The Rock to return.
Yeah, he's got a movie coming out in January also.
And he'd do just like anybody else and go ahead and push his product on Raw.
The people's product?
Question.
Go ahead with your question, Glenn.
Me and my friend were thinking of solutions for guest host. Now, what would you guys think? I want your opinions on this. If they pick 3 people to be guest hosts and they let the fans choose who the guest will be by voting online for the whole week.
I don't buy the voting online because we know it's rigged. They run the website.
Just humor them.
They run the website. I mean, we've seen what happened with Cyber Sunday and Taboo Tuesday and all that other stuff. It's gig. It's rigged. But I don't know. I'll let you guys answer because I don't buy into their voting.
It would keep interest in the product if the fans feel they had a vested interest in what was going to happen.
And they believe that their vote counted.
Mm-hmm. Well, they will regardless, and especially those that live in Florida, where Glenn does. Well, Glenn, thank you very much for that call. Thank you for those questions, and let's continue on the phone lines. We've got Steve from Heartland on line 3 to talk about WWE Hell in a Cell.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Steve.
Well, 2 things. One, they have the McIntyre Killings match, but yet they don't put the ECW title on the line at all, not one ECW match. That kind of made me a little upset and kind of confused.
Well, it was stupid.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to be a viable brand, if it's supposed to be something somebody cares about, they could have at least had the Abraham Washington show.
But they're trying to get Drew McIntyre over. They're trying to get Ron Killings over. Christian's already over. The fans love
Killings
him.
is never going to get over. Everybody just chants with him, and then after that, nobody cares anymore.
But sometimes all you need is one small little thing. The Rock had the elbow. He had the chants. He had the lines that he said. He had all these different things. But some guys do get over with just one line.
You know, with the exception of with Jeff Hardy, nobody that has come over from TNA has done anything.
It's true. The other thing was, you guys need to give me a reason why to keep watching, because I've been watching since I'm 31 years old. I've been watching since I was 7, and I'm really getting close to jumping off that cliff because it's getting pretty bad.
Let me make
please.
2 points here, Steve, to that point. The first of which is the only bit of the pay-per-view I fast-forwarded through was R-Truth's entrance. I find it to be obnoxious. What's up?
Yeah,
I find
agree.
it to be painful television. So the next point is, we've had some discussions here off air about taking some time off. What I mean by that is taking some time off from watching wrestling to try to make the product fresh again. But here's the fear. Let's say you take 3 months off, 6 months off, you come back. Guess what?
You don't know what's going on.
No. It's going to be the same thing.
It'll be the same.
Nothing will have changed.
Well, that's how it used to be. You didn't know what was going on. But I guess you're right, Damian. Right now, if you came back from 6 months, it's still Randy Orton versus John Cena versus Triple H versus The Undertaker. There's nothing new going on.
Right. I mean, I guess the only thing that keeps me watching is that I like some of the younger talent. I like ECW. I know I'm probably the only one who does that actually cares, and I like the SmackDown brand.
And Steve, we've had the discussions on this program many a time about who are those next big stars. And if you really look at the pay-per-view and look at some of the people that were on the pay-per-view, and you rewind to a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, CM Punk, Jack Swagger, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, John Morrison, Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger. There are a lot of people that they're investing in right now, and it's just going to take a while for them to be thrust into the main event picture. But the question that a lot of people have, including me, is why not just take a chance now? Take a chance. If the Great Khali can be in a main event on a pay-per-view shortly after entering the company, sideshow freak or not, then they could be taking an equal chance on some of these younger stars to put them up against a John Cena or a Randy Orton or a Triple H.
Damian.
David.
Sideshow freaks, who doesn't
he likes
a sideshow freak?
It makes it fresh, though. It makes it
Sideshow
different.
Bob, Sideshow Mel.
Like with Kofi Kingston, he's all right. I like Kofi, but now
But will you care about Kofi without a belt?
Now they're putting
But if
him
you
down.
ask Dave Hero, Dave Hero didn't care about coffee at all.
No.
Stephen Hartland, we are out of time. Thank you very much for calling. Let's go now to one last caller for this segment. Eric in New Jersey. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
What's going on, guys?
Eric, did you go to the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I was at the pay-per-view last night. I had a great time. Me and my friends had a good time. Aside from a couple things, I thought it was a good show. I thought the beginning, the first match, it was just, we spent 5 minutes going, like, why is this match on? And then the next 5 minutes, it was over. So we couldn't even take the match in. And then I thought that ruined the Dolph Ziggler-John Morrison match because I thought that was a good match, but no one even cared about it because everyone was still like, wow, we just saw the World Heavyweight Champion.
How long did you expect Undertaker to go for, though, physically?
Well, not long once we saw him
again,
on his knees limping around.
But again, in a Hell in a Cell, I mean, that's going to cover up some of his
match,
physical limitations.
His match.
Yeah, his match.
And he opened the show with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just was a little disappointing, that opening match. I thought, like, they when the time they had, they did a great job because I knew Undertaker couldn't do much, and then I was just wondering why CM Punk lost. I mean, I heard all the rumors and stuff, but it just didn't make sense.
You can't have Taker lose in his match.
Yeah,
especially for the belt.
But here's the
At the
thing.
same time, I thought it would have really put CM Punk over. I mean, he beats Jeff Hardy in a TLC, and now he beats The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell. I mean, that makes him the heel in the WWE.
He's on the wrong mountain.
Here's the thing, though. Does Undertaker respect CM Punk enough to put him over in a Hell in a Cell match?
No. No.
And that big controversy a lot of people are talking about involves The Undertaker, actually, and CM Punk, as far as why CM Punk may or may not be in the doghouse. Eric, thank you very much for that call with your live event perspective on WWE Hell in a Cell. When we come back, Armando Estrada will be our guest. Call somebody, tell them to tune on into the Pro Wrestling Report and listen to this exclusive interview when we come back. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Dave, I got to take a little offense or a little challenge to your recent comment about Christian and nobody who came from TNA doing good. Did Jeff Hardy come from TNA?
I said with the exception of Jeff Hardy.
He said that. You weren't listening to his
product. Why are you
product.
getting hot about it? Maybe you didn't hear what I said without your headphones on.
Well, I'm efforting right now, okay?
With his hands, not his ears.
Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and David Hero. You should see what's in this guy's contract, ladies and gentlemen. David Hero. He's got all kinds of stuff in there, but that's unimportant.
They call them steps.
That's unimportant because right now we've got a guest. By the way, we just lined up another guest coming up at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for a very special guest making his return to the Pro
we don't
Wrestling
want to
Report.
put that out there. It's a surprise.
I have done my homework for this one. Let's go now to our guest, Armando Estrada. You're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report.
Am I on?
Yes, there we go. Hello, Armando.
Hello, gentlemen.
Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report. Thank you very much for joining us here live on a Tuesday night. And
Thank you.
You got a lot to talk about, a lot going on in your life, including you recently opened a restaurant, which a lot of people might be surprised by.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I don't know. I mean, I've always liked food, so it was just a natural fit. You know, it was like I can go and open a restaurant and make money, or I have a place to eat every day. So I went for the latter.
Either way, it works, huh?
I will never go hungry, ladies and gentlemen, ever.
Well, Armando, tell us a little bit about Babies. What's going on there down in Arizona?
Well, pretty much shortly after leaving WWE, I got an opportunity with a lifelong friend of mine to expand his franchise, which is Babies Steak and Lemonade, and we had an opportunity in the Phoenix, Arizona area, specifically Glendale, which coincidentally happens to be the home of WrestleMania 26.
You were planning in advance, huh?
You know, I actually did not know that. I had no idea when we signed the contract that we were going to be about 8 minutes away from the site of the biggest wrestling extravaganza on the earth. And so far, so good. We're going on our 7th month, and let me tell you, it is a great business to be in. I'm glad to be there, but it is a lot more work than wrestling school.
So, I mean, if you've got this place to eat the whole time, how are you keeping into wrestling shape? How are you keeping into physical shape? Because, I mean, if you got your hands in the kitchen, literally, how are you keeping in shape?
You know, we have some healthy alternatives there at Baby Steak and Lemonade. So it's not all about the cheap steaks and the gyros. I mean, you guys are from Milwaukee. I'm from Chicago. So one thing that we have in common is I like to think that we have good food in common with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what good eating is, and we're taking a taste of the Midwest out to the West Coast there in Glendale, Arizona.
And you talk about living. Is there a better place to live than Phoenix, the Phoenix area of Arizona?
Which is basically a Midwesterner's transplant. Once you turn 55, all Midwesterners go down there anyway.
You know, good point. There's a lot of relocated Midwesterners and even people from the East Coast that I've come across in the restaurant there in Glendale. And everybody from Arizona, I take that back. Nobody from Arizona is actually from Arizona. It's the transplant capital of the country. So it's beautiful, beautiful weather, and it's nice, but try to avoid June through August.
Well, next spring, Babies is certainly going to be the place to hang out as WrestleMania 26 comes to Glendale, Arizona. This is going to be big business.
That will be a nice week. I'm looking forward to it, and I am currently in negotiations with World Wrestling Entertainment to hopefully become a sponsor of sorts for the WWE and their big event. And slowly but surely, people are starting to realize that everybody's favorite Cuban, Armando Estrada, or the artist formerly known as Armando Estrada, is there in town, and you can come and meet me a good 2 weeks out of the month because I'm there a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks I'm in Chicago.
And we're going to be in town for WrestleMania 26 during our coverage as we do every year. You know, Babies might be a good place to do the video shows from.
Hey, let me just go on record right now and invite you guys to broadcast live from Baby Steak and Lemonade WrestleMania week.
Yeah, you don't even have to ask me twice because you said something about food, Tom, right there.
It's a done deal.
Yeah. That's perfect. You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? Because I like you guys, I'm going to give you 25% discount.
I was just going to say, we'll even pay for the tab. You know,
Damian Nelson, by the way, just said he would pay for the tab.
I do it frequently. Anyways.
Have Dave Hero pick up the tab.
Oh, thanks. Right. There you go. Hey, Armando, you said that you're back in Chicago, you know, every other week or so. You'll be in Chicago this Sunday, the St. Charles area, signing autographs.
I will be signing autographs for Klinger Promotions in St. Charles at the Holiday Inn there in St. Charles alongside the ever so entertaining and charismatic Scotty 2 Hottie. 1 o'clock 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., I believe, and I'm looking forward to that. I don't do a lot of appearances, and anytime I don't have to get on an airplane is a plus for me. Short drive for me.
And as you said earlier, you're originally from the Chicago area. I think Arlington Heights, to be specific, and it should always be good to just be near your home to do these gigs.
Yeah, Arlington Heights is close. I'm actually the other way. I'm on the other side of town. I'm a South
Damn it,
side.
I was wrong.
I'm a South
So
side.
you're a Sox fan, not a Cubs fan.
Oh, I hate the Cubs. How could I go?
I love this guy.
Hey, let me tell you something. You guys got a nice ballpark there, and anytime I get to make it up to Miller Park, I've been there a couple times now, I love booing the Cubs. Anytime the Cubs. It's a wonderful experience. The only other joy besides watching the White Sox win is to watch the Cubs lose. I want them to go 0-162.
Armando, you obviously got really known internationally with your time in WWE and obviously no longer with WWE. Could you tell us a little bit about the circumstances and some of the things that may have been said to you upon your departure from the company?
Well, in so many words, there comes a time where there isn't any plans for a talent. And whether that be by one person's choice or a committee or whatever the case may be, somebody might not like you. Somebody might decide, let's invest in another talent. There's a lot of factors involved. But essentially, I parted ways pretty amicably. May I use that word, amicably? Does that make sense?
Amicably, maybe?
Amicably
sounds better.
I like amicably.
Tomato, you know what I mean. So we had a mutual parting with WWE. They didn't have anything for me. Quite frankly, I wasn't happy. I wasn't making the money that I thought I should be making, and it was a business decision. It was a financial decision, and the door's open for me to come back. So,
which is good. Now, one question. Obviously, you were one of the most entertaining elements of WWE programming for a very long time. How could they not have anything for you, is the question.
I'm one of many. How could you not have something for a guy by the name of Ken Anderson?
Oh, he spoke about that on this very program.
Who, by the way, will be your opponent at Blizzard Brawl 5 this year.
He is?
Yes.
You better start practicing and warming up.
Thanks, Dave.
That's December 5th, coming to the Waukesha County Expo Center. BlizzardBrawl.com.
You're
where you go for information.
You're the GM. You should have known that by now.
Didn't you make the match?
Dave, you're not informing me of these decisions. You're going over my head. What's going on here, buddy? Ken Anderson or Ken Kennedy or whatever you want to call him is one of the most talented individuals to come into the wrestling world in the last several years. And it's really a shame that he isn't working for the largest wrestling or entertainment company in the world, whatever you want. I still say pro wrestling, guys, okay?
That's okay.
Oh, that's what it is. Well, that's what it should be called.
There's a lot of guys that fall into that. I don't know what it is. You could piss off the. Can I say piss off on the air?
Yeah, you already did. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. You could rub somebody the wrong way. You could look at somebody the wrong way, and it doesn't matter how talented you are. Quite frankly, they either have plans for you or they don't.
Well, as Ken said, you could also be on one of two sides of the mountain. One mountain here, one mountain there, and just not be on the right side.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know. It's a very chaotic state there to work on in WWE. Sometimes you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and there's a lot of guys that I think should still be there entertaining. And you had mentioned that I was an entertaining part of the show, and I appreciate the compliment. I was flat out told that my problem was I was too entertaining.
Entertaining?
Quote unquote. The quote was, "Armando, you're too entertaining."
Who told you that?
Somebody in charge, somebody
sure.
a decision maker.
Hey, he's working on a sponsor for WrestleMania. Yeah. Come on now, guys.
I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm supposed to ask these questions.
The bottom line is sometimes it's not about you. And my problem was I was too entertaining, but it wasn't about me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I was a manager, and being a manager, you're not exactly paying money to watch Bobby Heenan. You're paying money to watch who Bobby Heenan might be managing. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I question that because, back in the day, if somebody was attached to Bobby Heenan, somebody was attached to a good manager, that actually was part of the decision-making process as to whether or not I was going to watch or see a show.
Mm-hmm. Well, what it comes down to is I think that there's one guy, and I think we know who we're talking about, that isn't fond of the manager, mm-hmm. which is it's unfortunate because you had guys like Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart and Jim Cornette, one of my favorites, Paul Heyman.
Sure.
You got all these talented
talkers,
storytellers, and ticket sellers, most important. Because a guy like Jim Cornette, Bobby Heenan, Paul Heyman, Jimmy Hart, they can talk you into the building to buy a ticket or to tune in to watch the TV show or to order the pay-per-view. And they're a valuable asset to professional wrestling that, unfortunately, that position has gone wayside in favor of the all-talented, important diva.
Yeah.
You know?
The divas who are basically nameless nowadays. They don't even mention who they are at the time.
There's a place for the diva, but the diva should not replace somebody that can help sell tickets on a different level. Because the divas can sell tickets and merchandise and do their thing, but ultimately you need people that can talk to help other guys get over.
And we've talked about this on the program as well, and it's just a shame that most of the quote-unquote divas now aren't wrestlers. They're models.
They're cookie cutters.
They're cookie cutters, and they all look the same.
You know what it comes down to, guys, is you have several hours of television a week between Raw, SmackDown, ECW, Superstars, God knows what other products are out there, other shows are out there. But they need people that are TV-friendly. And, you know, sex sells. Sex will always sell. And there's a part of that belongs in WWE to an extent, although they are going with a PG rating where they're not exactly targeting adults, and the majority of their audience is children. There's still a place for the diva, but there's also a place for a wrestling manager that can talk, sell tickets, generate ratings, pay-per-view buy rates, and ultimately try to gain new viewers is what it's all about. So I'm in business now, so I can say that because as an owner, I need to generate more traffic into my business to sell tickets. I'm trying to sell tickets, right?
And sure, get people in the door. All you need to get them in the door, you got the bells and whistles on the inside.
Right, and I learned a lot of that from Vince McMahon, from working under Vince for a few years. And while I might not have had a day-to-day relationship with him, every week I tried to learn something. I tried to pick his brain and examine why he would do some of the things that he's doing. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and a lot of times as a business owner or the person who has to make those bad decisions, you got to sometimes do some things that you don't even like.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes it's like, hey, it's your company, and you can do whatever you want with it. And just like it's my company, I have my own company now, and I can do what I want with it, or I can try to do the best I can to generate more business.
Armando, you spent quite a bit of time in Ohio Valley Wrestling, working with the likes of Al Snow and Jim Cornette, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of the people who are currently in WWE right now. Tell us a little bit about that experience in Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Well, I'll say that my few years that I got to spend in Ohio Valley Wrestling was probably the highlight of my career. It sounds weird because, you know, I made it to WWE and I made it to Raw and WrestleMania and whatnot, but as far as the funnest part of my career was spent working in Ohio Valley Wrestling for Danny Davis, with learning under Al Snow, guys like Rip Rogers. Tommy Dreamer helped me get my foot in the door with WWE. Tommy Dreamer was actually responsible for helping me to get hired with WWE. But I got to work with so many talents that are on the main roster now, and I got to, you know, you're spending several hours a week in practice and seeing some of these guys that are on Raw now, just off the top of my head, Crime Time, CM Punk, Beth Phoenix, Cody Rhodes. Oh, there's so many.
Nadeeb.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, every show that you watch, you'll see the OVW influence. And while OVW may not be a developmental system now, they'll be okay, and you can't take away the contributions of OVW to the WWE product.
Armando, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to ask you about your thoughts on the overall wrestling business right now, specifically TNA Wrestling. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and Dave Hero here live with you Tuesday, October 6th, 2009. And we've got a guest on the line as well, Armando Estrada. Armando, welcome back. Pro Wrestling Report.
Wait, that's not how his name is said, Armando. How do you say your name again?
Well, I would like to say it, although I don't know if somebody in Stanford is listening and they may sue me.
Well, Dave Hero's already got
it's probably best he doesn't.
Yeah.
We've been served with many a notice from WWE before, believe you me.
And I get a cease and desist at least every few weeks anyhow.
Yeah.
So.
And we already know that you'll be signing those as autographs. So.
You know what's really odd about the whole, what's weird about the situation with my name and all that is, unfortunately, the WWE owns the rights to the name Armando Alejandro Estrada. And that was my goof because I created the name in addition to the character and the personality that the WWE audience grew to know over the years. That was actually my brainchild, and WWE trademarked it, and unfortunately, even though I was using it prior to working with them, they own it. So my name, as you already know my name. Please don't.
Now, did you have the option, though, and this is one thing that we've actually been speculating about for the last few months, did you have the option when you signed your contract with WWE to retain ownership rights to your name and your likeness?
I think that was an option of mine. Unfortunately for me, part of it was being young and just trying to get a job. I was making $8 or $9 an hour, throwing people out of a bar in Louisville, Kentucky.
Huh.
So when I got a call that was offering me a spot on Monday Night Raw, it was like, where do I sign? Where do I sign?
And starting off with Ric Flair.
And starting, you know what I mean? So it was, it's one of those things where I didn't really look into the name. It might have crossed my mind. I was just so excited that my work, my hard work of 2.5 years of trying to get that contract finally was paying off. So,
and we've seen very few people be successful in retaining their name after departing WWE because a lot of people, again, I would imagine the excitement and the anticipation of being a part of the company would overshadow any of that type of foresight to look at what might happen when and if down the road you're no longer there. I'm sure you never really thought of not being there any longer, but it certainly must be an interesting dynamic.
It is, but I look at it as another challenge to me because the way the Armando Estrada character actually was, the way the Armando Estrada character came about, and I'll try to tell this story as brief as I can, I was playing an Arab-American character by the name of Osama. No, I didn't pick that name. No, I didn't like that name. Jim Cornette actually picked that name for me.
And that was when you came up with Muhammad Hussein, correct?
I came up with, I believe, Muhammad Hassan, and his manager at the time was a guy by the name of Davari, who's now known as Sheikh Abdul Bashir.
Sean Davari's been on this program?
And I started off as Davari's bodyguard in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and from there they were on the cusp of being called up to the main roster. So when they went up, I stayed behind and I was working and learning the craft and working on my persona and working on in ring. And finally, after about a year, I had felt comfortable under that persona as a modern day Iron Sheik, okay? Mm-hmm. And I got a call from Tommy Dreamer. He told me that I would be debuting alongside Davari and Hassan at a pay-per-view, and I was so excited for that. Well, what happened, back in 2005, there was a bombing in London, and there was
subway bombings.
There was a terrorist attack on a subway in London, mm-hmm. and unfortunately that was the demise of the Arab-American characters on WWE programming, and that, in fact, trickled down to developmental, to Ohio Valley Wrestling, where I went from being told I was going to debut on a pay-per-view to then being told, probably within a week, you have to change your character and you've got to come up with something new.
Now, was that when he had all the guys in the hoods do the, I think it was the rope around the neck? Were you supposed to be one of those guys coming out of there?
They were going to have plans for one of the henchmen, and plans change, but
sure.
From what I was told, something along the lines of being a hooded henchman. And luckily for me, that didn't happen because that could have been a 3 months and out deal for me, mm-hmm. as one of those. I don't know what kind of shelf life a hooded henchman
Well, hey, a guy
Ask
that
Terry
rides,
Gordy how well that worked for him.
and a guy that rides alongside of John Cena's old school car can become world heavyweight champion.
You lost me there.
CM Punk was one of the
at WrestleMania 22.
Right. That dude. But unfortunately for me, I was in a situation where I had to go back to the drawing board, and I said, okay, time for something new. I went home and I watched Scarface, and I said, wow, I like that guy, Tony Montana. I really like that guy. That's how Armando Estrada was born, by watching Tony Montana and Scarface. And I was able to get over with that character and with that name, and the challenge to me is, hey, you know what? It's just a name, and I can do anything I want, because you can go online. People are smart enough to go online and, in fact, find out my background, my real name, and where I live. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to continue to pull a farce and say, oh, I'm the crazy Cuban. I was born in Havana. And, no, I'm born on the south side of Chicago. And, most people know that I, in fact, am an Arab American. So who knows what the next step may be for me,
Well, question for you, Armando. Your take on the business right now, the business of professional wrestling. Not sure how much you even watch anymore, but specifically World Wrestling Entertainment, and then your thoughts on TNA, Total Non-Step Action Wrestling.
I'm still a fan, guys. Through and through, I'll always be a fan. And I will watch whenever I can. I'll try to TiVo and just and watch what certain guys that I might be looking for, certain storylines. And, I like what WWE's doing on Friday nights, because they got a lot of young talent that's being elevated and given they're shining the spotlight on a lot of young guys, namely CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler, John Morrison, Crime Time, guys that are getting an opportunity. On Raw, you got guys like The Miz, who's becoming a very, very adequate heel.
Brand new United States champion.
I did not know that.
You DVR'd it and you didn't watch it, and I'm sorry for spoiling it. We try not to spoil, but it's already aired. I am so sorry.
Okay, well, no problem. I forgive you. A lot of young talent, and I like seeing young talent elevated and being given an opportunity to show what they can do, because the top guys aren't always going to be around. And, for the future of the wrestling industry to stay strong, you're going to need that young core of guys that are hungry and that can show you what they can do. Guys like, even on ECW, you've got a lot of young talent, and the Irish guy, Sheamus, and I'm trying to think of who else I've seen.
We're big fans of Sheamus, actually.
I'll tell you what, what's his name? Zack Ryder.
Woo, 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 and you know it.
I'll tell you what, they're being given an opportunity to shine, and a lot of those guys are carrying the ball. Other guys I don't see much of the Russian or Vladimir. I think Vladimir is a guy that he's almost there, and you're going to see this, and this is the future. These guys are the future of the company that are going to be around 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Armando, real quick, your thoughts on TNA Wrestling?
It's hard. It's hard to try to keep up when you're opening up your own business and you're running your own business. It's hard, but I try to, again, I TiVo, I watch as much as I can. I like what they're doing with some of their young talent, guys like Hernandez, guys like AJ Styles, who, while he's relatively young, but he's still got double-digit years under his belt. But it's good to see guys like that getting a run. And while, Kurt Angle's at the top of his game still, other guys, what's his name, D'Angelo De Niro. I call him Elijah Burke. Yeah. I like seeing these guys get their opportunity to prove that this is the future of professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, 5, 10, 15 years from now. These guys that I'm mentioning are still going to be around and probably going to be at the top of the game. So,
Armando, one more time, Babies is the name of the restaurant. That's located where?
Babies Steak and Lemonade in Glendale, Arizona, home of WrestleMania 26.
And the Pro Wrestling Report on WrestleMania weekend, apparently, too.
Pro Wrestling Report will be broadcasting live.
There you go. We're doing it live.
You got to do it live. You got to, live is the way to go, man. And it's only a matter of time until I'm hoping I can see TNA on Monday nights going head-to-head with Raw.
Oh.
Who knows? Maybe, the Monday Night Wars Part 2.
They were exciting.
All right, Armando, we will see you Sunday in St. Charles, and, of course, December 5th, Blizzard Brawl 5.
Thank you very much, Armando.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Thing sucks. You see it, KYJ. Things have changed just a little bit since the last time you were here.
I think you should see your oculist. Nothing wrong with my feet. I'm talking about your eyes.
I can even make my ass do tricks. Watch this. You have any idea where you are? You're in the jungle, baby. This is WCW. That's right. Hold on.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and PWRShow.com. Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the man they call Meathead here with you live Tuesday night, October 6, 2009. Just got off the line with Armando Estrada.
His birthday, by the way.
Yeah, we forgot to mention happy birthday to him.
My mic was turned off.
He's 22.
I tried.
Can you believe that?
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
And singing to him live from
our special guest, Al Snow, back on the Pro Wrestling Report. Oh.
No, that was just a drop on the system, guys. We just wanted to wish him a happy birthday.
Well, anyways, now the cat's out of the bag. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report, Al Snow.
Howdy doody, guys.
Al, you just got credit for that singing. How do you feel?
I feel wonderful. It's it was the best I've ever heard my voice.
Al, we had you on this show last on February 9th, where you owned me, and
I owned you?
Oh yeah. We made the mistake of bringing up the 7 deadly steps in professional wrestling, and it wasn't a mistake because ever since that interview, actually, so many people have listened to it and said how much knowledge you shared with them and how much they now know, how much more they now know about the business from that interview of a few months back. So thank you for that. Al,
hey, don't you hold me responsible for anything now.
You did own me. It was a great interview, though, one of the best we've done. It's actually, I think Ken Anderson may have beat you by a minute or two, though. He may have gone just a minute or two longer. Yeah.
Damn.
It's a challenge.
I'll have to see if I can't outdo him.
Al, give us a little update as to what's going on in the current day in the world of Al Snow.
Gosh, tons of things. As always, still wrestling, and also I've been lately doing a lot of work, producing and directing and editing documentaries.
What kind of documentaries?
The last one I did was about some special needs children and horseback riding therapy, and it was very enjoyable to produce.
Giving Michael Moore a run for his money?
I don't think so. I'm not that heavy.
And let's not forget, Al, you've been making some movies as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been doing some independent films, and supposed to be doing another one here at the end of October, and going to work on one. And this coming Sunday, I'm going to go in local production. They're trying to win a contest, I think, for a Super Bowl commercial. I'm going to be part of a Doritos commercial. So
Cool Ranch or nacho cheese?
Cheesehead.
Nacho cheese. Come on. That's exactly what you say whenever anybody takes your cheese. That's not your cheese.
And not only that, Al, you've been all over the world lately. Egypt, Australia, traveling everywhere.
Yeah, makes it a lot easier to stay on the run that way, away from federal authorities, when you can move from country to country.
You and Osama.
And, I've also continued to pursue my hobbies of trying to destabilize third world governments whenever and wherever I can.
There you go.
So, still working on Canada as much as I
Al, the business right now. What's your thought on it? WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate, whatever. What's your take on the business as we see it right now?
Well, in what manner? I mean, I really I guess any opinion of mine would just be my opinion for one thing, and for another, it would be kind of speculation. I've not really watched any of them, to be honest with you, other than I know that the continued state of affairs seems to be unchanged. So
after you stepped into TNA, anything come of that? I mean, if you haven't really been paying attention to the product, kind of, what happened after that pay-per-view appearance?
Nothing really. They contacted me a couple of different times said they had some ideas for different things, and then never heard from them. You know, they would contact me, and then they would say, "Oh yeah, we want to talk to you," and I go, "Okay," and then I'd never hear from them again, and then they'd contact me again, and a few months later, and say, "Well, we've got something else, and we'd like to talk to you." And I go, "Okay, when do you want to talk?" "Oh, we'll get back with you." I go, "Okay," and I never hear from them again. So, you know, so I couldn't tell you.
You know, Al, speaking of TNA, you've invested a whole lot into their current TNA Knockout champion, ODB. You know, she's finally been at the top of the mountain in the ladies division. You know, and we've talked in the past, you know, she's always been one of your favorites, one that you try to get hired by the WWE, and it just never happened. And right now, she is the queen of TNA.
Oh yeah, and that, you know, that doesn't surprise me. You know, I remember meeting her, and this will stand as a testament. You know, everybody always talks about, you know, technical skill, how great a wrestler somebody is. That's all a crock. You know, what really matters is if they have it, that whatever it is, that indefinable thing that makes people remember you, that turns you into an attraction, into a draw, that when the person watches you and leaves, out of everybody on the show, they can't stop thinking about you. And, you know, considering the fact that I have the memory of a crack baby,
on crack.
Yeah, on crack at the moment, and probably a heavy dose of cough syrup that his mother has probably given him just so that she could possibly strap him down with duct tape and put him into the closet so that she could then go shopping.
Right. That sounds like a recent Facebook update for you,
yeah,
Al.
I'm telling you, they're killing me. They're killing me.
But I remember ODB stood out to me from back when I first saw her when she tried out for Tough Enough 1. Now, I don't know how long ago that was, but I know it's been quite a while, and I can still remember when she came out in the ring and can remember her cutting a promo, and she stood out then. I tried to get MTV to take a chance on her. They didn't have an interest at that time because she didn't fit the mold, I guess.
Yeah.
But I knew that
she
had
fits her own
something
mold
even
for
there.
sure.
Exactly. And, you know, some of the truly successful people make their own mold. And, you know, she contacted me about coming to OVW on her own, and she was tremendous. I mean, she came in as a heel. You know, we had such a great time telling stories using her as a character because she was so good at being a character and making a connection with the audience that even as a heel, she was starting to get over as a babyface. And we did this. It was such a great story where we did this ridiculous, you know, we had a ton of divas, a ton of girls that were both employed by WWE and that weren't. And we did this whole thing with this beauty contest between her and Kat, Katie Lee.
Virtual.
Yeah, where we literally turned, Katie Lee was a babyface who turned into a snobby, elitist heel, and ODB turned into almost a female version of Steve Austin, you know, the everyday woman that everybody loved. And it was fantastic to watch the transformation, you know, throughout the story, and then how much everybody took to her. And so it doesn't surprise me that, you know, she's doing so well in TNA, and it makes me very proud that she is.
Al, earlier you talked about the it factor. You talked about a person having it. Question, and for all the people that you've taught, all the new talents that you've nurtured, can you teach it?
Well, I think that I don't think you can teach it. I think it's a matter of self-belief is really what it is. It comes down to, everybody goes, well, what is it? And I really think it just comes down to self-belief. The more you believe in yourself, the more it comes across, the more the real you comes out, because you're not putting up walls and blocking people out because you're not worried about being judged or second-guessed or, you know, being evaluated, because you are confident in who you are and what you do, and that shines through. It catches people's attention. It brings, and I tell people all the time, and especially in the wrestling business, more so probably than any other business, you have to have incredible self-belief. You got to walk that line of humility, but at the same time believe so much in yourself that it almost borders on arrogance.
Al, you also mentioned about ODB. For a while, ODB and the girls in OVW were actually main eventing your house shows.
Yeah. I mean, all the girls were just fantastic. I mean, it was, what drives the wrestling business is characters and stories. And I'm proud to say that thanks to the girls, I mean, we had such great stories and such great characters with the girls. I mean, they were just, they were, when it came to TV, they were the driving force for TV for a very long time. They were the thing that really turned the business down there around. It was amazing. And that was, Beth Phoenix, that was Kay Lee, that was ODB, that was Serena. There were a lot of girls that were involved in that, in lots of different ways. I mean, Victoria, who's up on SmackDown now, I think. I don't know.
Alicia Fox we're talking about.
Yeah.
Dave's a big fan of Alicia Fox.
And Maurice and Roca, I mean, they all worked their butts off down in OVW, and they were terrific. I mean, they really were. When it came to, you could come up with, such great stories, and they could pull it off. And then they went in the ring and they pulled off these matches that paid off the stories. They weren't like the match was just separate. It was like it was a part of a continuance of the story. So, I was very proud of all the stuff that they did down here.
Well, Al, thank you very much for joining us, and we're going to be able to see
you
again.
Cut me off already? What the heck, man?
We got a lot of show left. Dave we've overbooked the show, unfortunately.
Don't give me excuses. Come
Dave,
on.
Hey, you know what?
We want to keep it fresh.
You guys
for
can
Blizzard
blame
Brawl.
Cousin Jack. Blame Cousin Jack. I have nothing to do with that.
But we got to keep it fresh for Blizzard Brawl. We're going to see you on December 5th back here in Milwaukee again, actually in Waukesha, the Waukesha County Expo Center.
Yes, I will be. I'll be back there on December 5th.
BlizzardBrawl.com.
I was there another time, but I screwed up, and
And for that, you've been stripped.
Dave
so you don't have the belt.
Dave forgives you.
And also, follow Al Snow on Facebook.
Hilarious.
It's the best stuff going.
Yeah. I mean, I can't add any more friends. I got to make a fan page or something because
I'll let you know that I'm down with something that you're down as well. OPF, other people's funnies. I take your lines and make them my own.
Oh, real good. That's I'm glad to hear that, Steve.
Al Snow, it's a pleasure again to have you on the show. We look forward to having you on again soon. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Talk Packers with
Fish, you couldn't have picked a better song. That was great. 1, 2, 3, kid. I used to mark out for this.
That and the guy with the jock strap on his face.
You weren't the only one. I love the kid.
I was a big fan of Aldo Montoya.
He's your current GLCW champion.
X-Pac, Sean Waltman. Sean Six-Pac Waltman.
Who was on this show recently.
He was.
It was a good interview, too. Actually, you know what? Sean, it was a good interview.
Our year-end wrap-up show is going to be a doozy. We might have to charge for that one. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
No, he's talking about rapping something with X-Pac.
Oh. I don't do that stuff.
We're live Tuesday, October 6th, 2009, and we are taking your phone calls. Number 276-3776 or 800-990-3776. The next local caller gets 2 free tickets to the TNA Live event, TNA Wrestling Live event coming up October 24th in Racine, Wisconsin at the Memorial Hall or Civic Center.
Big main event, too.
Main event. This is the main event announcement, by the way. Haven't heard it anywhere. Go.
AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe.
Ooh. That's huge. That could be at Donnybrook.
That's almost like John Cena and Randy Orton.
I'm not sure we've saw it on successive pay-per-views enough, though.
No, but they've had their share of matches.
Yeah. They've got history.
You know it'd be nice and polished up.
I just got to defend them.
Well, yeah, you got catering in a few weeks. pay-per-view coming
Again,
up.
next
See what
local
Dave doesn't
caller
mention to you, though.
2276 ESPN gets 2 free tickets to the TNA live event on Saturday, October 24th.
What Dave doesn't mention to you, though, is there is catering here in the building. He just chooses not to partake.
Day-old bagels?
No. They were from the Fish. When were the bagels from this morning? They were still good.
Yes, from this morning. That's funny.
They were fantastic.
Fish is telling you about Loxham Bagels. Can't beat
Hoo-ah! We thank everybody for joining us in the Chatmosphere at PWRshow.com as well. Let's go to the phone lines. We've got Anthony calling from the West Coast in California. Anthony, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey there, guys.
Anthony, what's happening?
I didn't see the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, but I did notice they have 2 new champions again.
Okay.
And kind of wondering, in your
To
opinion,
that point, Anthony, real quick, the WWE and World titles have changed hands 7 and 8 times this year alone on pay-per-views.
Yeah, and I was wondering, what makes a really good champion? One that holds the belt a lot of times, like, say, Ric Flair, or holding the belt for a long time without losing it,
Well,
like Hulk Hogan?
they've gone that route already. This is actually new this year for WWE compared to the last handful of years where they had either Cena or Orton run 6-7 months in a row with a belt. So they're changing it up this year.
Yeah, I think the longest was John Cena for that 1 year, a couple years, like 2 years ago.
You know, I'm really not sure. I'd have to look, and we'll look it up. I'm not sure how long Ric Flair's longest reign was. I do know that Hulk Hogan obviously had a long run. Backlund had a decent run.
when a champion holds a belt for a long time, business is good.
I agree. I completely agree. But how long has it been since we've seen the person hold his title for a long time? Has it been since the wrestling god JBL held the belt for 10 months?
But I wouldn't say wrestling was good then.
I say it was when John Cena won it from Edge and TLC, then lost it when he was injured.
Didn't that happen over the course of 3 weeks?
It's one of the two. It's either Cena or JBL.
Yeah, it was either Cena
But
or
long
JBL.
gone are the days of the Hulk Hogans, the Demolitions, the Honky Tonk Man title runs.
And about the upcoming bragging rights, everyone's upset, we're going to see John Cena and Orton again, this time Iron Man. Which I admit, it could be good. Remember, John Cena did have almost an hour match with Shawn Michaels. And it was voted, I think, by the PWR fans as the match of the year.
Last year's honors, I think it was actually. Good plug, as we will be talking about the honors for 2009 later.
Good job.
But that was a great match. I believe it happened overseas. It was on Raw. It was the last Iron Man match we saw, I
It was in
believe.
England.
Now you gotta
Which
see
is
if
overseas.
You got to see if Orton can do an hour.
Oh, Orton can go an hour.
And about
See, wait a minute. You just said we got to see if Orton can do an hour? All right, Cena proved it. Never mind. I'm not going to Cena hate.
You know what? Even if Randy Orton does lose, he can still win the Royal Rumble and get a title shot again.
And he could still win an Elimination Chamber and get a title shot again.
Absolutely.
And about the whole saying that Raw versus SmackDown with the winners going on to a tag match, that's somewhat like Survivor Series 90, the Ultimate Survival match.
You know what? Here's what's going to happen. You'll have 5 guys from SmackDown and Triple H from Raw, and then Triple H can beat all 5 guys from SmackDown.
Just like that. And then you won't see him
Santino
on the show the next week or night.
But I'm saying, why not have ECW? You can have it ECW versus Raw, Raw versus SmackDown, all that. It could be a triple threat in the end.
Bragging rights tells you exactly where the focus is in WWE. And quite frankly, it's probably where it should be. It's on Raw and SmackDown. Now, bragging rights is smart from a marketing perspective because it's coming out, it's going to happen the same time that SmackDown versus Raw 2009 is released. 2010 is released. That was very smart on their part. But, again, are we going to go another month without an ECW representation on the pay-per-view? And I'm not saying that because I really want to see it, but quite frankly...
Well, you want to see Zack Ryder versus Christian on a pay-per-view?
And you know it.
Could be a good match.
Are you kidding me?
Woo,
Come
woo,
on,
woo.
Damian.
Thank you very much for that call out in California. Let's move on to
Victor
line 2.
Kozlov versus a Christian. Come on.
Line 2, Bowman in Boston. SmackDown 10. Were you there live at the Fleet Center for that event?
It's called the TD Becknoff Garden, and yes, I was there.
Oh, well now. What do you also call it out there?
Say you're hot.
No, it was the Boston Garden, and then it became the Fleet Center when it got built, and now it's you're right, TD Bake North. But what do y'all call it in Boston?
It's just the garden now.
The Garden.
Ah, you hear that?
Garden.
The Garden. Bowman, what do you have for us? How was that experience at SmackDown's 10th anniversary?
It was a fun show. I talked to most people in the chat room and through the Holobox on PWRshow.com, and a lot of people seemed to like the show after they saw it. What did you guys think of the show?
I got to say, it was an excellent show. I still have yet to watch the end of the main event, but everything leading up to that, I thought it had a big show feel, from the opening with JR and Grisham in the ring, to The Rock making an appearance, to the return of Vicky Guerrero, to the Eddie Guerrero tribute.
To the Michael Cole getting drunk and yelling, "Vintage!"
I mean, I thought it was a very good all-around show, and we don't have ratings information yet, but I don't think they got a very big spike out of it, because it is Friday night.
SmackDown just showed the world how much wrestling misses The Rock.
Yeah. And as you said, Dave Hero, who better than Rock?
Yeah, there is nobody better.
There's nobody close.
With the exception of The Undertaker on SmackDown, nobody else has, as Al Snow says, the it factor that The Rock has. And can you imagine putting The Rock in the ring with CM Punk right now? Or a Zack Ryder, or a Miz?
It's a tremendous point. It is
Rock put
unimaginable.
Christian where he is now.
I'm sorry?
Rock put Christian where he is now. Rock gave Christian that initial
rub.
No.
Rock put Christian where he was before he decided to leave WWE.
No. But Rock still put Christian up there. Before that, Christian was just some guy, sniffing around the low card.
Sniffing?
Whatever.
Bowman, what was the overall reaction to the show live at the TD Bank North Garden in Boston?
A lot of people had fun at the show. It was a hot crowd. They didn't do any sound editing. I can tell you that. They didn't do any sound. It was definitely a hot crowd. I mean, the only dud of the match was when what's her name came out. What's her name? Michelle McCool. Michelle McCool came out and nobody cared.
Yeah.
But beyond that, everybody was hot off of for the event, and there was a lot of confetti that was dropped. A lot of confetti.
Confetti.
Well, there was a confetti at the main.
Oh.
Yeah, at the main. You'll see when you see the show. I had another question. Actually a comment I think you guys are going to segue into, which is about the Gimmick pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion out of it is that I think they're reaching out again to try to freshen with the pay-per-view lineup a little bit more, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, this is where the Royal Rumbles, the Survivor Series, and the King of the Rings were created from.
Yeah, I mean, the Gimmick pay-per-views have been around for a very long time. We are going to talk about it more in-depthly in just a moment. Bowman, we do have to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to go to Phoenix on the phone lines. We've got Akeem, and this is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. I like to consider myself the 2000 version of the Dr.
I see you bobbing your head.
Well, why wouldn't I?
You're
I'm
jamming.
familiar with this music.
You're jamming, baby.
Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the man they call Meathead here live with you October 6th.
October 6th?
We talked about Hell in a Cell being an emotional roller coaster. What a show we've had so far. Armando Estrada for the first time ever of the program. Al Snow making his return to the program as well.
Al's like a 3 or 4 time caller, I think, isn't he?
Could be.
We need to get Head on sometime. I bet that.
Does Head talk?
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, we had almost had it that one night when there was just going to be Meathead and I think it was Dave, and it was supposed to be a head versus head interview.
The FCC would not allow that.
Yeah. Head on head.
You can join us.
Head to head.
You know what's funny is Frank's mic has been off the whole time.
Frank is, I don't know. Well, here's all I can say.
News team, assemble!
We have interns here at the station, and Frank is currently working through some stuff.
So you're saying
is that
Frank
why
is David Letterman?
Whoa. That's why he's not here tonight?
Frank is Dave
Wow.
Letterman.
There was a letter in his limo.
All right.
That's for $20.
What a fool.
You can join us on the phone lines at number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Let's go to Phoenix, Arizona. Akeem, you are live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, Akeem?
Hey.
Have you been to Armando's restaurant yet?
No.
Babies.
I actually missed that whole interview, so
it's all right.
Kind of late. But hate to kind of move away from the topics you guys were going, but I was watching an old episode of TNA Impact, or the weekly pay-per-views they once had, and the main event was R-Truth or Ron the Truth Killings versus Monty Brown for their heavyweight championship. And what the question I had was, do you think it would ever get to a point where we would have two black athletes at the top of the card in the WWE? Because I think the closest it ever got was Booker T versus Bobby Lashley. And the week before the pay-per-view, they changed it to a four-way, adding Batista and Finlay.
Well, Booker T and Bobby Lashley, didn't they go one-on-one for the title of King of the Ring?
I don't think that was a pay-per-view, though.
Well, no, it was a King of the Ring was a pay-per-view. That's where you got King Booker.
Was that at the top? I'm talking.
I don't think it was at the top of the card, though. I think it was
wasn't
just second.
either.
I think it was just. Yeah, that one was a pay-per-view.
The question, in my opinion, it's a delicate subject, meaning two things could happen. Either you could put minority wrestlers on top of the card just to say you did it, or you can just have it happen when the talent shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a lot of minority champions in the organizations.
Damien,
but
we
I don't
actually
think
saw it in WCW, too, if you remember the Ron Simmons issue as well.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope. Again, you don't want to just elevate somebody for the sake of elevating them and say, look, we've had an African-American champion, which, I think may have been done in some organizations at times. But do I ever think it will happen? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to see it in WWE? I think that that would be one of the last places we'd see it. Akeem, thank you very much for that call from out in Phoenix, Arizona, side of WrestleMania 26, where we're going to be broadcasting live from Baby's Steak and
Lemonade.
Steak and Lemonade.
Go to steakandlemonade.com. That has all the stuff for Armando's restaurant.
Thank you very much.
The future home of PWR.
Well, for about a week anyway.
They have catering there, don't they, Damien?
We're going to be there.
This week in history, a couple of items of note. In 1997, the Hell in a Cell debuted at the Bad Blood event at the former Kiel Center in St. Louis, Missouri. And for those of you that don't remember, that was also the day in which Brian Pillman was found dead in his hotel room. Not a very good day for wrestling in general, as in 1999, Darren Drozdov was paralyzed in a match at the Nassau Coliseum. A couple of titles did change hands this week in 1996. The Sandman defeated Stevie Richards in a tag team match for Raven's ECW Championship. Owen Hart defeated Farouk in 1997 in a tournament final for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Remember, that was right after Owen Hart had won, I believe, the Intercontinental. After Steve Austin had won and then vacated the Intercontinental Championship. And then, of course, in the biggest title change of all, the Godwins defeating the Headbangers for the tag team titles in 1997. The Gimmick pay-per-views. The caller earlier talked about it. WWE has switched some things around as far as their pay-per-view business goes to address what many had seen as a decreasing business, and the numbers certainly do reflect that. There are a couple things working against WWE right now. The point that Meathead has made, which is they're doing 14 pay-per-views a year, down from the 16 they were doing at the height of the pay-per-view times. Still, that means there are a couple of months in which you have to shell out a couple of bucks for two different pay-per-views within one show. And they viewed the product as getting stale. And much more of it might have been economical in nature, meaning people are really making the decision as to whether or not they're going to shell out the money for that pay-per-view, and WWE addressing it by putting some gimmicks on them. So let's talk about the ones that have changed. We could say Extreme Rules, as it was, basically just Extreme Rules this year, not One Night Stand. In 2008, that event got about 194,000 buys. In 2009, I would call it essentially flat at 213,000 buys. The Bash, formerly the Great American Bash, last year getting about 196,000 buys. This year getting about 178,000 buys, down about 18,000 buys. It's just a pretty good number. But again, essentially flat, I would say. Night of Champions, last year 273,000. This year 259,000 people ordering the pay-per-view. And here's where the problem starts. WWE SummerSlam got between 475 and 500,000 buys. This year, 380,000 buys are the early estimates. So overall, put that on top of WrestleMania, which lost about 100,000 buys this year to prior year, and look at every pay-per-view, not a single one is up over 2008. WWE may have been smart in trying this gimmick thing, but here's the question. Knowing now, seeing now that they really haven't done as good as or better than they did last year, is this an effort that they should continue with, or is it something that was a mistake by WWE?
If you're going to have the gimmick match, if you're going to have a Hell in a Cell, make it a Hell in a Cell. You know, if you're going to have a hardcore match, make it a hardcore match.
Speaking to Hell in a Cell specifically, how many times do we hear about it being Satan's structure, demonic, and just such a brutal structure?
They oversold the structure itself.
Well, because they want to sell the pay-per-view buy.
I understand that. They oversold the structure so much that when you saw the matches that went on in the structure, when there was no blood, granted, I mean, we read
his blade.
that he dropped his blade and he was supposed to blade.
You didn't see that blade sitting in the middle of the ring when Kyoto picked it up?
No.
It was some rectangular metal object. I can't confirm it was a blade, but it certainly did look.
Neither
like
can
one.
confirm
And the ref
or
put it
deny.
in his pocket
I was
when he
there with
picked
two
it up.
kids. I didn't, you know.
He was busy yelling at the two kids. Quit doing the people's eyebrow.
But it's not just blood. I think blood was expected, and we're not bloodthirsty.
But
Don't
no
get us wrong.
spots.
But exactly, and we saw more on Raw last week out of John Cena and Randy Orton in regards to Hell in a Cell than we saw on the entire pay-per-view over the span of
From
the
all
three matches.
You know what, though? Here's the problem. You've already seen the guy get thrown off the top of the cage and get chokeslammed through the cage.
That was 11 years
How
ago.
can you top it?
Nobody's asking to top it. We just want to see stuff like that. Different.
You want to
styles.
see the train wreck, but what is there left to do?
Hang from the cage.
They've done
tease
that.
it.
They did that.
This year?
They did it with Boss Man Undertaker.
But here's the
This
point.
year?
Oh.
This year?
Well, he
I didn't say
okay.
hang him in an
Undertaker.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I didn't
But
say
here's-
hang him in a noose.
They've
I never
done it.
said that.
They've done it, but they've done it. They did it, and now the bar is set. You've got to at least meet the bar, I think, in the fans.
That's what I'm
You'll never
asking.
meet the bar. Not in a PG
Well, then they shouldn't have sold
WWE.
it. They shouldn't have sold it as such.
But all they care about is the buys. I'm telling you.
The money.
Hey, like I
don't
said,
disagree.
next year Hell in the Cell should be at the McDonald's Playland in the ball pit.
And you would have got that tweet Sunday
You know?
night.
Yeah.
Courtesy to PW.
That would have been more entertaining. I mean, it was brutal to watch 3 cage matches. You know, cage
And not brutal as in physicality, brutal as in
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
Mentally painful.
The only one where they truly utilized the cell, at least in part of the story of the match, was DX versus Legacy. You know, the main event.
Yeah, that's where they utilized it because they locked out Triple H, beat up on Shawn. Triple H, Triple H sat outside.
Yeah, we're sitting there like, just go in the back and get a sledgehammer, get a bolt cutter, get a key, whatever.
It took him 10 minutes to figure out
Yeah.
who to go get bolt cutters.
And here, if I'm Legacy, just pin Shawn Michaels and have the match over with, right?
Right. That's when those are the times you need Jesse Ventura on commentary because he would have said that a couple times. But is it a failing effort? Should they go back to what the original pay-per-view titles were, or is this something smart to at least spur new interest on the pay-per-views media?
It's not really going to be that important if they keep changing the names of it when the product inside the name pay-per-view stinks.
They're done with Hell in the Cells because I'm telling you right now, they can have another Hell in the Cell and no one's going to want to buy it because they've been so disappointed by 3 in one night with nothing, with no big payoff.
I mean, they've already killed Elimination Chamber to me. They've already killed the Chamber to me
Well,
because
no,
the Chamber, to me, the Chamber was special. This last year in February, they did 3 Chamber matches: an ECW, a SmackDown, and a Raw.
There were 2 of them, but
they did 3 of them. 1 for each brand.
Okay, well, but did it get old?
To me, it did.
Dave Hero, did it get old? Comparatively speaking to Hell in a Cell.
I don't know.
You can tell a better story in an elimination chamber matchup than in a Hell in a Cell matchup. And we talk
I guess I can handle 2
Yeah.
chambers better than 3 Hell in the Cells.
Well, the the Internet Wrestling community had a question to answer at pwrshow.com, which was, what was the value of the pay-per-view? The options were not a dime, $10, $20, $30, or $40. 63.4% of the Internet Wrestling community said it was worth all $40 that it was charged.
It was worth a pizza and a few pitchers of iced tea for me.
Only 15% said it was not worth a dime, and then the rest of the options round out the rest. I'm a little surprised by that, actually. But what matters is, do people think they got their money's worth? Apparently, according to this poll, they did. And WWE would probably continue along the course that they're on if that's the case. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and streaming live at PWRshow.com. We've got 2 tickets to TNA's live event on October 24th in Racine at the Civic Center. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster. However, you can get 2 tickets right now. Our next local caller scores those tickets, 276-ESPN, 276-3776, 1-800-990-3776, 1-800-990-3776. 2 tickets to TNA Wrestling.
Total nonstop action.
That's what he adds to the show, folks.
No, I was just finding my place here, making sure I covered everything, and the next thing to cover is coming up in just a little while. It's the 2009 Pro Wrestling Report Honors. It's our year-end award show. It is completely fan-controlled, meaning this. Soon at PWRshow.com, you're going to be able to find out how you can go ahead and send us your nominations for the categories that will be announced on this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, which will be available Friday right after SmackDown on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 and at PWRshow.com. The categories will be announced on Prime Time, and then you the listeners, you the Internet Wrestling community and the World Wrestling community will go ahead and pick the nominees. And then once
Can't we pick the nominees?
We are not going to be picking the nominees this year. The fans will decide.
Really? So it's like a Cyber Sunday kind of thing?
They're going to, but their vote counts here.
They're going to control the process from beginning to end. They will pick the nominees, and then once the nominees are finalized, they will vote for the finalists.
That could be dangerous.
And the winners of the 2009 Pro Wrestling Report Honors.
In 2007, they voted John Cena as the Wrestler of the Year for the Pro Wrestling Report Honors, as voted on by the listeners.
It was last year, 2008, I believe.
It was 2007.
Who was Wrestler of the Year last year?
Edge.
You can watch those previous year episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report Honors at PWRshow.com. Click on the special honors section. And again, we'll be releasing more information on those categories coming up this Friday on PWR Prime Time. Let's go to our top 5, gentlemen. Each week we pick the top 5 names of professional wrestling, top 5 talents as far as we see them. And I'll go ahead and start because I know I'm the one who's prepared.
You're prepared. All right.
For me, my top 5 names of the business, on top of the list is Randy Orton. I think his performance in Hell in a Cell and at the pay-per-view and overall over the last week, stellar, phenomenal as usual. A lot of people are saying, though, that his entrance is getting a little bit long. The question is, who's got a longer entrance, The Undertaker or Orton?
It takes so long to walk to the ring.
Yeah, but
that's part of the character.
What has Piper said?
I don't know. What did he say?
Piper said that if you're important enough, they'll wait for you to get to the ring. Why get blown up?
Or they'll go to commercial.
But there's TV constraints. There's times. You know?
Why get blown up on the way to the ring?
Randy Orton on top of my top 5 list. The next 2 names are the team of Legacy. Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes.
It is. Let them have it.
Okay.
Who were absent from Raw this Monday night.
Oh, they got a beat down.
No more than Shawn Michaels did.
But Shawn Michaels is DX.
That means they wear capes.
Absolutely. They have green capes and green boots.
You know what's very obnoxious about this past Monday's Raw? It was so blatantly obvious
that
all they were doing, he did a pretty good job, I thought. I
didn't like the way he talked.
All they were doing were trying to get the right clips, sound bites, and photos for Sports Center.
Did you see how Triple H was like orchestrating the whole thing every time?
It's sickening to me to watch that.
I agree. It was almost like it was set up for DX to get the photo ops.
Yeah. And I don't fault, WWE, they had to do it, but don't do it on TV in front of us. I mean, get some photos.
That's how little respect they have for the fans' opinion.
But that's how they get
product.
the feeds for ESPN. They pull it off the live feed.
Sure.
They got to be there.
Rounding out my top 5 list, Dolph Ziggler. That match at Hell in a Cell between Ziggler and Morrison.
Wait, hold on a second. Rounding out your top 5? You only gave me 4.
Continuing my top 5.
All right.
I
was confused.
That match at Hell in a Cell. It was very strongly hyped by WWE. I even strongly hyped it. I don't know what I actually expected, and I'm not sure if I got what I expected out of that matchup.
No, you didn't get what you wanted.
I don't know if I did, though.
You didn't. I'm telling you didn't.
So now you know what he's thinking.
No, because if he got what he wanted, he wouldn't be questioning this.
I mean, Again,
that's solid reasoning,
right?
That's solid reasoning.
I wonder if I set my own expectations too high for this match. I expected a 20-minute spot fest. We certainly didn't get a spot fest, but we got good wrestling.
Maybe it's
in my
stage
opinion.
1.
All right. Well, rounding out,
Rock Austin had stage 1.
Finishing off my top 5 list is Mick Foley. I liked him on Impact last week.
That was a great promo. That may have been the best TV Mick Foley has done in TNA since he's been there.
That's my top 5. Let's continue moving around the room. Dave Hero, why don't you go ahead and go next?
You know what?
Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready to fly, but not with AJ Styles. I'm going to go number 1, Randy Orton. Impressive. I thought he was the most vicious in the pay-per-view without all the gimmicks. As far as my number 2 and 3, I'm going to go with Jericho. I think that every week they depend on Big Show and Chris Jericho to put over the guest host to make somebody else look good.
How funny was it, though, when Jericho said he was bigger than the O-line?
Yeah.
While standing under
I mean,
Ben.
They are the MVPs of Raw and SmackDown, and if they were on ECW, they'd be the MVPs there as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's my 2 and 3. My 2 and 3. 4. Boy, you know what? That's tough. I guess I'll have to go with Mick Foley as well on that. I thought he did a great job. And 5.
You're welcome.
And 5, even though she didn't win the title, I thought Alicia Fox did a great job on Sunday.
Oh God.
And that's for everybody
I feel your pain.
there.
When I was a Jeff Hardy mark back in the day, nobody else was.
Hey, you know what, though? Think about it. That was the longest match she's worked ever in the company. When you're on TV, you work 2 or 3 minute long matches. She won almost, 8 minutes?
Listen to what you just said, though.
Yeah.
She won almost, 8 minutes?
Well, right,
yeah.
but just think about it.
Comparatively speaking. Yeah.
For someone that's used to being in a tag match half the time, where they go 2 or 3 minutes.
Dave, I'm never going to appreciate or respect your opinion on Alicia Fox again when you refer to her as the next Mr. Perfect.
I said she...
That is
No,
blasphemy.
he didn't
that
say
is
that.
what he
No,
said.
He did not say that.
I said she bumps around like Mr. Perfect.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
I've got the transcript from last week's primetime right here in front of me.
Thank you.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
Hey, you know what? Alicia Fox was plucked out of a swimsuit magazine by Johnny Ace. And look how far she's come.
Don't say that. Let's get together.
Meathead, your top 5.
I'm already finished. I'm done. Anybody got a sandwich? I thought that was Dragon's Bump, but good placement. I'm going to go 5-1. Number 5 is actually Randy Orton. Again, Randy
He's
Orton.
5 or 1?
I'm going 5-1.
All
Number
right.
5.
Don't get hot about it. If you're hot, say you're hot.
I was actually talking, but thank you. Number 5 is Randy Orton.
You did not just try to say anything about anybody interrupting anybody.
That's another thing
for the last 11 years.
That's another thing that's been perpetuated on the show. Your hate for the Undertaker and Bret Hart, and
I do hate Bret Hart.
My constant interruptions. We all
wait. No. I don't hate Bret Hart. I dislike Bret Hart.
You know what? We got to get Bret on the show.
Well, then I'd love him.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
No, not really.
Especially if you were at TNA Catering handing out soup.
Listen. I've explained many a time why I have the impression I do have about Bret Hart. It has nothing to do with the screw job. It has nothing to do about him going to WCW. It is on March 12th, 1997, when I looked into his eyes
Where were you
right
then?
in front of me. I was at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Chicago,
Getting ready
Illinois.
for WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 13. I looked into his eyes, me and several other fans standing around. I saw pure evil, just like Newman.
Like the
Do you want to
Viacom.
explain that?
That's Seinfeld.
I know who Newman is. He's the guy that used to work for me at the sports page.
You're 4 through 1.
4 and 3, Jericho. Again, it doesn't matter what order they go. Jericho is the number 1 tag team right now. And they got buried by DX this last week. Number 2, Mickie James. I still think she is the one that carried that entire match. Please don't try to tell
she didn't carry the match.
Fox
She
did
didn't
all
carry
the
the
bumping
match.
like Kurt Hennig.
Have you had one of those new roast beef patty melts?
Yes. It's not worth the extra penny. And number 1, it's time to fly, AJ Styles.
What did he do last week? He
phenomenal.
didn't do anything. He did an interview last week. How
He's
can
on
he be number
TV.
1?
He's on TV. He's the number 1 guy.
I thought that segment was awkward again.
Yeah.
Between AJ and...
Made me feel kind of weird.
I'm not knocking your number 1. It's your list. You can do whatever you want. It
I
can suck
did.
as much as you want. But I thought that was awkward.
Hey, we've got 2 minutes to zing, so let's go.
TNA Bound for Glory. They took a price hike on pay-per-view.
Well, it's
$40
going to be the
now.
biggest pay-per-view in TNA history.
I think it's risky.
Risky business?
I think it's risky. WrestleMania gets away with it because it's WrestleMania. 25 years it's been established.
Well, you know, they are on the West Coast. It's more expensive out there.
A couple of matches will be announced on this Thursday's Impact, the stipulation for Mick Foley and Abyss's match, and a big tag team matchup, a big tag team ladder matchup will be announced as well this Thursday night on TNA Impact. As we said,
there's a lot of matches on Bound for Glory that no one's expecting either. Wouldn't you say it's safe to assume that?
What we know so far is AJ Styles will take on Sting for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Kurt Angle will go up against Matt Morgan. Samoa Joe will take on Bobby Lashley. Sarita and Taylor Wilde will go up against the Beautiful People. Not sure if that includes Lacey Von Erich or not.
And then, of course, Kevin Nash versus Homicide and Eric Young.
I said what's been announced.
Oh.
So
spoiler. Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, wasn't paying attention to the product.
Lacey Von Erich. Yeah or nay? Week 1, yeah or nay?
You know what? Ask Sunny what she thinks about Lacey Von Erich.
We hope to soon on this program.
Yeah, we'll effort that for maybe next week.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
No,
Yay or nay?
No, I love Lacey.
Yay or nay,
I love
Von
Lacey,
Erich?
but no.
Beautiful, but it was a dud.
The new, I guess, the replacement for Angelina Love, I guess, on TNA. The Beautiful People. Be sure to check out PWRshow.com to find out when the Pro Wrestling Report will be on 540 ESPN next week. And also tune in to PWR Primetime coming up this Friday, right after SmackDown on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 and PWRshow.com and PWR Express each and every day at PWRshow.com. For the man they call Meathead, for the cause, and for Dave Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.